Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. It's been a few years since my last video and I wasn't looking to make any videos for a while, but you know, sometimes a knife comes along that I find that is really good and no one is talking about it yet, at least. I knew, I was looking for videos on this knife before purchasing it, and it's because there's such a dearth of videos out on it that I decided, hey, I'll make my own after Lord knows how long. So, as you will have seen in the title, today we're talking about the Boker Kerberos collaboration with Rafael Durand and Sam Lurking on the design. This is a really handsome knife that, despite maybe not being as super modern as a lot of the tactical flippy kind of stuff you see nowadays, no pocket clip, thumb disc, not a flipper, traditional lockback. It offers a lot that I think you should pay attention to, and that's why we're talking about it today. So, a little bit of a weird cut, and we'll be right back. Okay, so the Boker Kerberos. Like I said, this is a Boker Plus model version of a very attractive custom design collaboration between knife maker Sam Lurkin, who's known for his very contoured and aggressive handle styles, along with strong buoys, and Rafael Durand, who has a couple other designs with Boker, that being the Slack and the Frelon. He's a French knife maker that, honestly, his style, I really like it. I got lucky seeing that the Kerberos was around, because originally I was going to go for the Slack, but this one just spoke to me that much more. As you might know, today, on the 30th of August 2019, French knife makers are really hot right now. And he is certainly no exception. But I'm going to give, in this review, a lot of credit to Boker, whatever factory is making their knives, at least for this Boker Plus line, because they are delivering on quality in an incredible way. Okay, so first off, maybe let's get on with measurements, get the boring stuff out of the way. We have a blade that is a knife that is overall about 21 centimeters. In inches, they'll work out to 8 and a bit. The handle length is 12, maybe 12.5 centimeters. So if you do the math, it'll leave you about a 8.5 centimeter blade, which is, yeah, pretty much on spot. 8.5 centimeters will be around the 3.5 inch mark, thereabouts. I'm sorry if I'm not getting the measurements exactly correct. I'm one of those weird European kind of dudes, which worked out very well for me this time, because usually when it comes to buying knives that are made by American brands and maybe some higher end Chinese brands, you'll usually pay the European tax of, duties and imports mean that, say, a Spyderco Para 2 will not be $120, $125. If you get a good deal, it'll be $160, $180 easily, unless you're buying used or something like that. So on this occasion, because Boker is an European brand, they are German, I am lucky enough that this knife comes at its most reasonable price. This one was purchased at knivesandtools.de, that's DE, for about close to €90, which honestly, is a bit more than I'm used to spending on knives, but on this one I feel like it was like I got away with something. I feel with this knife. And let's talk about materials, so I can explain. It might not seem like I'm getting away with anything because this is a blade of D2 steel, G10 handles. You can get a D2 steel G10 handle blade with, real certified D2 steel from China for around 25 US. So a 90 euro knife on that price range might seem a bit strange, or like not such a good deal. Why do I feel like that's not the case here? Like I actually got a good price on it. Very simple. The amount of handwork, maybe not even handwork, might just be machine, but the amount of attention to detail on contouring, on making sure serrations are great, on this very unusual, and I have to say, for a factory to make a blade that is so contoured on every aspect, will probably be a lot more machine work than on a standard slab handled knife. And then the real standout to me, which I'm making this video now and not later after I've had more time to use it, because I want to show this off now before I wreck it, because I generally use my knives hard enough that a finish like this will be ruined, but they have this beautiful, almost hand satin looking finish on the blade. Let's see if the camera will focus on it. For a second it did. Okay. This beautiful vertically rubbed, almost hand satin finished. Like, this is a kind of blade that, you touch it and you'll definitely see fingerprints, at least under regular lighting with the sun and not me on a 3-year-old cell phone camera. But the finish on it is excellent. And, D2 steel is actually decent. Boker has had a lot of time and experience with heat treating it. They claim this is up to 60 Rockwell, which is a good target hardness for this kind of steel. And so just, the aggressive clip, the look on it, the wide-ish blade. This is a knife that visually, like, okay, I'm gonna admit it, I'm shallow like that. Sometimes the knife will just look so good that I'll just jump on it. But lucky for me, this isn't just style but also substance. So, let's talk a bit more about the blade. The stock thickness on it, I'll pull out my trusty measuring again, seems to be about 1, 2, 3 millimeters thick, maybe a little more, which is standard for a blade like this. And actually, there's no point on me having low accuracy on a spine measurement. So I'll just pull out my handy calipers. You can see these are on millimeters, zeroed out. So this blade is about, let's see. Oh, I was totally off on my reading. See, this is why I verify. So about 4 millimeters thick, which in inches is 1.57, maybe 1.6, since might be knocking around the whole thing. So 4 millimeters thick, so fairly thick. And this knife on the whole is a thick monkey, coming in at 18 millimeters, which in inches is 0.71 of an inch. Although, if it has one thing going on in its favor, is that the absence of a pocket clip means that in the pocket that's about as thick as it gets. At any rate. But this knife, the geometry on it looks pretty good since it has all of this height to work with. The bevel, I haven't done much with it except for 2 passes per side on a plain leather strap. But the edge thickness behind the grind, I haven't measured it yet, so I'm seeing it along with you. It seems to be about 0.57 millimeters, seems about good, 22 thousandths. Maybe a bit less since, I'm measuring on camera. I probably didn't get it exactly right. And you know what, let's be consistent, I'll do it off camera so we're all sure of where we are. So the thickness behind the edge is, this is not the kind of stuff you should live on camera, but here I am. Okay, so more accurately measured, it comes out at 19 thousandths of an inch, which for me is a very decent blade thickness. Would I prefer it to be half of that? Yes. Very clearly, yes. I favor slicey blades immensely. I think this D2 probably would have taken it decently well, but 20 thousandths is still very reasonable and very civilized for a blade this size with this kind of look. There are a few notable impressions as we move right along. This is a blade that ergonomically, hoo boy. I say hoo boy because, okay, Sam Lurkin is some kind of magician when it comes to handle design. As you can see, you have a nice place for your thumb to land. Right there, here where the thumb disc is, no need for any kind of jumping. I personally feel that jumping would kind of work against this blade, because it's perfectly comfortable like that. It has the relatively thick stock, 4 millimeters, so plenty of space for your thumb to live in. And we have what Cliff Stamp used to call design by hand, not by picture, because this knife is suited ergonomically perfectly for the hand. And yeah, it is the kind of design that guides your hand to where it wants it to be. It's not going to be an ergonomic wonder if you want to do a reverse grip, although all the edges are very well broken, and really well rounded and chamfered, so that you're not going to be uncomfortable doing a reverse grip or any kind of those crazy operator grips that aren't very useful on your day-to-day life for the majority of us. But it is very comfortable, and that's because, honestly, I'm my kind of basic primal human thing is, oh yes, the hand finished satin. I've had a custom knife made for me with a hand finished 600 grit finish, and this resembles that, might be even finer. And I haven't said before, but man, Raphael's logo game is on point. Like, it is just a pizza, but you know what? It works great for me. But as impressive as all of that is, the handle, the contouring has to be even more impressive. Because, I mean, goodness. Look at it. This concave shape it has, almost as if it had been hand done on a wheel. With the break here, another concave. And then on the back, it's actually convex. So, as you wrap your hand around it, very well wrapped here, your fingers, the fat of your fingers falls well in the concave, since there's more room there. And it is a big handle, like you see that with me doing a full hammer grip, have that much sticking out, but it is comfortable in a way that only if it was a fixed blade could it be more comfortable, and even then, not much. It is like I can press down on this fairly hard, and you'll see, did it make a mark? Yes, but you don't see any white lines that you might see if I was doing this with a more unfinished handle piece, because they are sufficiently thick and rounded that this is a comfortable handle. Okay, so as I've been spinning it about for you to see, there is no pocket clip on this knife. The solution that Boker found was to attach this small lanyard here, and honestly in pocket it works a lot better than I expected. Usually I'm not a lanyard guy, like none of my knives have lanyards attached to them, but on this one you close the knife, which I'll get on the action on the closing a little bit later. You put it in your pocket, vertically like this, and even with fairly deep pockets this just stands out. You pull it out. It's not your super intense tactical blade ready to deploy on pulling out like if it's an Emerson or some cold steel knives, but boy is it good. Like, I'm intensely impressed by this knife. So, okay, let's talk about the action. We have here a lockback knife. As you can see, the simple mechanism we all know about. A little lever and the spring action here goes into a notch and makes it so this can't move. And I can tell you that Boker did an incredible job. Like, as you can see along the spine, there's no gaps between the handle scales and the back spine. It's all done very well. As I get my hands in here, no blade play up and down, none at all side to side, which is deeply impressive. I haven't taken this apart. I imagine they use Loctite, and why I say I imagine they use Loctite on the pivot is because as I move it, I can kind of notice that on one of the sides the pivot moves ever so slightly along with the blade. So that's why I imagine they use some kind of thread locker, but I've opened it and closed it a few times and it hasn't had problems yet. Centering on it, as you can see, and I'm pointing this towards the camera, is dead perfect. Interior of it, as expected from a lockback. Now this is a weighty knife. I'll try and put the weight in the description. I don't actually have a scale on me, but I wouldn't be surprised if this goes above 4 ounces or like 150 grams. But this isn't your ultralight hiking or neck knife, and it wouldn't be. D2 steel, heavy lockback, very thick handles. This was never going to be an ultralight knife. But this, if you have a good belt and your pants stay on well, this I don't really mind. Yeah, you might know that you have it with you, but you know what? When I'm reminded that I have this knife with me, I get a smile on my face. Honestly. So, okay. I'm going to also show you the packaging. Usually I wouldn't do this kind of thing on a review. This review could have been a lot shorter, but since there aren't many of it out there and none in English, just a couple of showcases from dealers, I also want to show you the packaging. Just a Boker Plus knife, the knives and tools, certificate of authenticity, and a shout out to them. I actually asked them to search for the knife with the thinnest grind and one that didn't have any blade play, and they delivered well to me. So here on the case you have some instructionals about how to operate the lockback, and even their tip here that you can just remove the thumb disc to make this a legal to carry knife in Germany. A different pamphlet with other information. I don't know honestly what it says. I don't speak German, I'm sorry. Little silica packet, you know why, you're used to this kind of stuff by now. And then they also include this Torx driver in a wrench format, which you can completely disassemble the knife with. See the larger one here. Remove the thumb disc. Honestly, a really great inclusion. Like, if you're making this maybe as a fancy gift to one of your fancier friends, this edition is great because it means, oh look, they can do maintenance on it themselves. Then the knife comes inside the box like this, and this is, just a little bit of cardboard painted black, just a bit of foam in it, and then the cards. But it makes for a compelling package. Magnetic lid. This gets home and you're like, oh, great, something good. So good job on the packaging, Boker. I've had some of their cheaper model stuff, a little lockback from them, and this is much better than just, a paper sleeve. So I want to compliment Boker on that. Okay, I'm not going to give you final impressions. Actually, first I'm going to give you some size comparisons, and then, maybe I'll give you final impressions just so I can have somewhere to timestamp the TLDR of the video. So, size comparisons to this knife. You have, everyone knows and loves this knife, the Ergonomics Spartan. I'll try and hold them in a way that you can see. Yeah, I'll put it on top of each other because the camera is on an angle, so they'll look, different. As you can see, much larger than your Ergonomics Spartan, which you would expect. A bit more of a well-known knife, the Spyderco Manix 2. This is a knife that is very similar to the Kerberos in overall size. A lot lighter, of course, because, FRN scales. What else we got? We have my current most used and most carried knife, which I should make a separate video on it maybe. The Manly Peak. And now we finally have a knife that's bigger than the Kerberos. And it's a good thing I've brought both the Manly Peak and the Manix 2 Lightweight as comparisons, because, get to price comparisons. About 90 euros, maybe $100-ish, 100 and a bit. This is an 80 euro knife, because this is CPM 154 version. For the same price as the Boker Kerberos, you could get an S90V blade on this Manly Peak, and I mean, I honestly couldn't tell you that you're going a bad way. The Manly Peak is an outstanding knife. You can see mine has been well carried and loved. The Manix 2, also an excellent choice, very lightweight. Maybe the thickest grind on any knife that I actually use, which is, fun, because I was told Spyderco makes thin grinds, and oh boy, not on this one. And then finally, I'm going to bring up a couple of knives that aren't really comparisons at all, because these knives are neither well known nor even close to price range. This Pires of Palassolo Navalha, that's the pronunciation we have for it, and this Martins, also of Palassolo Navalha. And the reason I'm bringing both of these out is because, as I've read, Rafael Duran's work on his knife design, a lot of them, and I think it includes this Kerberos, is inspired by the Iberian Navalhas, or Navajas, if you're going for a Spanish variant. And I can kind of see it, you know, the bit of a clip that they have towards the front, where the tip drops, the bend in the back for a hand grip. Here on this echo line, you can see they actually diverted from what's traditional, making the bend earlier. And you know, these are good knives. This one more than this one. This has a prettier handle, but no lock makes it kind of meh. But you know, this echo line with this rotating lock, this is a less than €10 blade. I got this one for $5. But I brought them out so you can see maybe some, you know, inspiration, history behind it. Honestly, this is a 26 minutes long video, and I've rambled far more than I needed to. So, final thoughts. Too long, didn't read. What do you think about the knife? I love this knife. From, you know, the details on the blade finish, this perfect hand rubbed satin finish on it, to stuff like the contour on the handle, which is incredibly good, like the best I've seen on any kind of production knife.